Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network's YouTube channel. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can find us on Facebook and stay up to date on our Facebook group, or find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcasts can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Google Podcast, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at consciousradionetwork.com for podcasts, hosts, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now. Enjoy the community. Subscribe today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Good day, afternoon, or night, wherever you might be on this spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's special report and series of the Seance. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Mekas. If this is your first time, subscribe, like, share, comment, and also listen to wherever you listen to your podcasts. Picking up on an instruction in Septemics, a philosophical science. Welcome back. This is part 13 of Septemics, a philosophical science, hierarchies of human phenomena analysis, prediction of and management of human affairs, with Jim Marshall, founder and creator of Septemics and author of the book Septemics. But before we jump in, welcome, Jim. Welcome.
Hi, Paul. Good to
So
see
before we jump into, and definitely get your book. Get Septemics. You can go to septemics.com. Let me bring that up real quick. There we go. So go to www.septemics.com, get your book, and you can follow along because the rest of these are in our series on the YouTube channel. And we are going to start, before we start on chapter or book 2, chapter 6, reintroduce yourself and maybe do a little recap.
Okay. Well, I am the discoverer of hitherto unknown natural phenomena, which greatly aid in the understanding of people, from which I created a revolutionary practical philosophic system called Septemics and published it in the book Septemics, Hierarchies of Human Phenomena. And today we're going to discuss some of the content of that book.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I tell you, nowadays, it's hard to understand people. And this is a great tool to understand.
Yes.
So, absolutely. Absolutely. So, chapter 6, let's dive right into this. Let me bring this up and go to, there we go. That made it easy. So, let's go to the scale of management.
The scale of management. So, management, for all intents and purposes, is synonymous with organization. Because anytime you manage something, you're organizing it to some extent, to some degree. And it's also congruent with administration. So you could think of this as administration, management, or organization. That's the context of this. Now, of course, you can manage almost anything. You can manage your family, you can manage your business, you can manage your church. Even if you have a sole proprietorship, you still have to manage it. So this is very applicable in an infinitude of situations. Now, under type, it says spiral. This is a spiral scale, which means that there is an overlap between levels 1 and 7. Now, when I say overlap, the way I usually explain this is to say there is an apparent congruency between the two. So it's very easy to mix up establishment with marketing when you look at an organization and the functions in an organization. So it's important to realize that, because what happens is this scale feeds onto itself. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, infinitely following this spiral. And hopefully it's an upward spiral for you. Now, this is a quantum scale, meaning there is no gradation between these levels. You're at level 2 or you're at level 3. There's nothing in between. It's just a vacuum in between.
Yeah.
And this is a specific scale, meaning it doesn't make any sense unless you have a context. What are you managing? Are you managing your bowling team? Are you managing Walmart? Are you managing the government of the state of Florida? What are you managing? So this is widely applicable in any size. It doesn't matter whether you run a hot dog stand or whether you run the largest organization in human history, which is the United States federal government.
Hmm.
It's the same scale. It's the same patterns. And that's what makes this powerful, because this always applies if you're going to manage anything. Now, notice it says this scale aligns with the scale of human ability. Now, we talked about the scale of human ability already, and that is, in a sense, the individual manifestation of this scale, which is a group manifestation. So, in other words, when you're looking at people, you have to know where they belong on the scale of human ability.
Yeah.
And then when you do, you can fit them into your management function. If you don't know where a person is on the scale of human ability, you run the risk of mismanaging the person. This happens all the time. There's an infinitude of examples of how people screwed up situations because they put somebody in the organization wrongly.
Mm.
And the scale of human ability tells you exactly where the person should be in your organization. So this is very helpful if you're running an organization. A guy comes in and he's is looking for a job. You have to know, where is he on this scale, and then that tells you which of the 7 levels he belongs in,
Yeah.
because these two dovetail. Now, if you look at this vertical line on the right under human ability level, notice number 1, it runs in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And number 2, it's out of alignment. None of this was obvious. Took me many decades of working on this to work this out and figure out how this worked together. I had these two scales separately before I was able to see that they aligned, that one was really a manifestation of another, although the fact that they run in opposite directions completely obscures that,
Yeah.
which is why people don't figure this out without having this data.
Mm.
Okay, so everybody enters this scale at level 1. Level 1 is establishment or creation. You create the organization or the group, whatever it is you're going to manage. Somebody established it, somebody created it. In the case of Sears Roebuck, huge company, one guy started it. He was he worked for a railroad. I think he was a conductor, and he used to sell watches just on the side out of his pocket. And that took off, and eventually it turned into Sears Roebuck, which was one of the most important corporations in the history of the United States,
Yeah.
because it brought people from all over the country into it, because
Mhm.
their famous catalog would go out to farmers and ranchers and miners, and they could buy things that
Yeah.
they could not otherwise buy. So that's a perfect example of starting with one guy doing some little thing, and he just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So obviously, Tesla and SpaceX were established by Elon Musk. He created them. Okay, now once you establish the thing, you must interact. If you don't interact, nobody knows you're there. It's the tree falling in the forest with no one there to hear it. Interact and communicate pretty much mean the same thing in this context. So, the first thing you have to do when you establish is you have to make communication and interaction possible. You get an email address, you get a website, you get a phone system. In other words, you get ways for people to contact you.
Mhm.
Because until you do that, they don't know you're there. So that's the next thing that has to happen. Can't do anything until you can interact with people. Sometimes interaction involves hiring a company to help you do that.
Yeah, outsourcing.
Right. Now, once you're able to interact with the community, then you can promote. You can say, "We have this terrific product or service." That's sales. So promotion and sales is pretty much the same thing. You're promoting, you're saying, "We have this thing and it's good and you should spend money on it."
Yeah.
Uh, so that is possible because you have interaction. Now, once you've started promoting, the next thing that happens is you get money coming in. People say, "Okay, I'll sign up for 2 weeks," and they give you money. That means you have finance. That's the next thing, level 4. Then you have to set up finance. You could call it treasury, but it's certainly accounting. Okay, all the things that go with finance and accounting occur at this level 4. Okay? Now, once you have finance going, then you have to produce. Let's say you're running a dojo and you're giving martial arts services, classes, and such. Well, somebody comes in and says, "Okay, I'll sign up for uh, 6 weeks of jujitsu." Well, then you better produce.
Yeah.
You have to produce. Now, production gives you a product, but you could also think in terms of a product or a service. Like if you're running Wells Fargo, it's about service. You're servicing people. People come in, you take their money, put them in the account, keep track of it. You're keeping records. It's a service,
Yeah.
as opposed to when you go to Walmart, you get a product. But it doesn't matter. It's still level 5.
Mm-hmm.
So level 5 includes manufacturing. This is where you're creating whatever it is that is the sine qua non of your establishment. If you're in the shoe business, this is where you manufacture the shoes. So realize you had to go all the way to level 5 before you made any shoes.
Yeah.
So you see, this is a clue as to why so many businesses fail. I think something like 90% or 95% of new businesses fail. They don't know this scale. That is why. If they knew this scale and applied it, they would not fail. Now, once you have production, right? People are coming in, they're giving you money because you're promoting, and you're promoting because you can interact with them. See, all this is interacting, the levels are interacting with one another. Now you have production, right? So you're doing whatever it is you do. If you're a masseuse, you're giving massages. That's how you produce, even though it's a service.
Mm-hmm.
You can still think of it as a product. Then the next thing is you must refine the product. That's level 6. This is correction. This is where mistakes are corrected. There are always mistakes. It doesn't matter how smart you are, how much you pay attention, there are always going to be mistakes. You order some vitamins from a company, they send you the box, you ordered 6 things, the box only has 5 things in it. They made a mistake. So then you have to contact them, and there has to be somebody there to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be a department there that
Customer
says,
service.
right, customer service. But this is beyond merely customer service. This is refinement.
Mm-hmm.
This is somebody who knows enough about what you're doing to say, there's a better way for us to do this. Let's change the website to have a button for this thing. See, you're refining. And that is how you succeed in business. You refine it. Henry Ford almost went out of business because he thought the Model T was the greatest thing ever made, and he just kept making them and wanted to keep making them. And his son came to him and said, look, Bob Chevrolet has got this company going, Buick, Cadillac. They're all doing other things, different things, advanced things. They're going beyond what we're doing. Now they're following in our footsteps, but they're going to be eating our lunch because they have more advanced vehicles. And Ford resisted this. He said, no, the Model T is perfect. Well, the son talked him into it, and they came out with the Model A, which was a fantastic success, and it rejuvenated the company. So they redesigned their vehicle. No more Model T, now it's Model A.
Hmm.
And the Model A was able to compete with all these other companies.
Yeah.
So you have to refine. You have to refine because your competitors will force you to refine. Your customers will force you to refine.
Yeah.
So you can think of it as refinement. You can think of it as correction. Customer service fits in here, but that's a small part of it. That's correcting the mistakes with your customers. But there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah.
If you don't refine your product, you will fail eventually.
I've done that a few times.
Right. So you can see that is how companies, Blockbuster, right? Blockbuster was a big company, big rich company. They were wiped out by Netflix.
Yeah.
They didn't adjust, they didn't refine. They had this paradigm that worked, and Netflix came out with a better paradigm, put them out of business. They went into bankruptcy. No more Blockbuster. Most young people today don't even know about Blockbuster. What's
Oh,
Blockbuster? See, it was like a part of your life.
oh yeah.
They
Friday
were-
nights. You got out of work on Friday nights. What did you do before you got to the house? You stopped
Right,
at Blockbuster.
right. Perfect example of how they did not refine and correct, and it wiped them out.
Mm-hmm.
And this happens with empires, with huge organizations. A perfect example, the United States education system, okay, has been deteriorating steadily for 60 years. They didn't refine it, they didn't correct it. See, if they got me in there, I would have said, look, you're doing this wrongly. This is what you should do, okay? And then the students will learn better, they'll be happier, the parents will be happier, it'll cost you less, but you have entrenched interests.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the teachers' unions
Oh
are in
man.
charge of everything. Lots of luck with that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, after you refine it, what do you do then? You market it.
Marketing.
So when Ford brought up the Mustang, which was like circa 1965, this was like a leap forward. It was like a type of car. It was sort of a sports car, but it was a family car too. See, it was a correction in their system, and they marketed it. See, and they made billions. So marketing is exporting. Now, some people get marketing mixed up with promotion.
Mm.
Marketing and promotion are two different things. Okay, you have to get the thing to the customer.
Yeah.
You have to market it. So, I don't know if you've noticed, but since the pandemic, there are major global problems with supply chains.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Every time I go to the store, there's some ordinary thing that they don't have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where's the mustard? Where's
Yeah.
Goulden's mustard?
Yeah.
Oh, we're out of Goulden's mustard. Every time I go to stores, I see that.
Or it's slowly dissipating. What even was still around right after COVID is no longer there. It's like, wait, what's going on? Oh well,
Yeah.
we can't get that
So,
anymore.
so those are the 7 necessary components of managing anything. I don't care what you're managing. I don't care if you're managing the United States Army. I don't care if you're managing the Episcopal Church. You need these 7 levels. They're all necessary. Now, after you market, one of the mistakes that people make is that they just try to keep marketing it, marketing it, You can't do that. You have to go back to level 1 and establish something new. You see this in TV spin-offs. There was some show that was on TV in the 50s. It had 4 spin-offs that all became their own shows.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example of marketing. And then somebody says, this is going well. Let's set this up as a separate thing. And you establish a new thing. You establish a new show or a new organization. You don't just keep doing the same thing forever.
Yeah.
Because you have to keep expanding, because there's always going to be countervailing forces that are going to knock you down. So after you get to 7, you go back to 1 and you establish something else.
Mm.
So if you don't, sooner or later you're going to become obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
Because by the time you've gotten to 7, see, you've had all this refinement, you've had all this money go through, you've had people paying attention, you're marketing. See, now you have a pretty good idea what the hell you're doing. And so you establish something like, for example, when they set up the Space Force about 5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Yeah.
the US military created a new branch. That's level 1. They started at level 1 from a new branch. That was necessary, you see, and it was smart. So now the Space Force, it's in its infancy and it's going through this process of working its way from 1 to 7. Now, let's talk about how this dovetails with the scale of human ability. Now, if you look at the scale of human ability, it takes, everybody enters it at level 7 and goes up to level 1, which is the exact opposite of this scale. In this scale, you always enter at level 1 and you go down to level 7. And that is why it's upside down.
Hmm.
But it's also out of sync. So, what do you do when you have a genius? You establish something around him. When your name becomes an adjective, that's a genius.
Yeah.
So you have something in baseball called the Babe Ruth League, right? Ruth was a genius in baseball. That was a Ruthian shot, right? And you have the Babe Ruth League. You establish something. You see?
Yeah.
So if you take a genius and try to plug him into one of these other places, it's not going to work. You have to let him. It's like Elon Musk has to be establishing his own thing. Okay? He is at a very high level, and if you try to just fit him into some company, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
Now, let's go down to level 2, virtuoso. What do you do with a virtuoso? You market him. So Jimi Hendrix was going around as an unknown in Greenwich Village, circa 1966. Somebody discovered him and said, we can make a fortune from this guy. They flew him to England. They put him with Mitch Mitchell and Noel Redding, and the rest is history. It became the Jimi Hendrix Experience. He changed the face of music. Okay? So what did they do? They did the right thing. They took this virtuoso and they marketed him. You see? They didn't say, come and play in my band. That's the wrong thing for him. He was
Yeah.
already doing that. Now, now you have level 3 expert. Okay, an expert is not as good as a virtuoso. It's qualitatively different. Virtuoso is unique. An expert is very smart. He's the guy who runs your refinement. So you have some guy, let's say he's been in this shoe factory for 20 years. He knows everything in there, every person, every machine. He knows all the sequences. You make him the manager of the place. You let him refine it. He's the guy who comes in and says, Smith, that's the wrong way to do this. Do it like this. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's the expert. He can correct everything. All of a sudden, the production goes down from, let's say, 1,200 pairs of shoes a week to 1,000. He gets in there and finds out what's going on, what's happening here, who's doing what. Ah, I see. And he fixes it. That's correction.
Yeah.
See? But that's somebody who is an expert. Now, below that is a professional. A professional is not an expert, but he can do the job. What do? Make him produce. So you have some kid has been practicing in his garage, right? And he meets some manager. He says, you're pretty good. I'm going to put you in one of my bands. Puts the kid in a band. The next week, the kid's in a club playing, making money instead of playing in his garage, right?
Yeah.
He's producing. He's getting paid for what he can do very well. Okay? That's level 5. Now, if a person is not good enough to be professional, he's an amateur. Why does amateur fit with level 4? Amateurs are your best customers.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to a baseball game, right? Like a major league game, and you talk to people, just go around and talk to people, you will find that most of the guys in that stadium played baseball. They played Little League, they played high school ball, they played American Legion ball, they were amateurs. So that's why they're there spending their money.
Yeah.
That's the guy who spends $200 on a jacket that says Derek Jeter on it or number 2 or something, right? He's an amateur. Those are your best customers. So they interlock with accounting. They're the people who shell out the money.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you've got some dojo and you're teaching martial arts, right? And you have some guy there, he's been coming to you, he's got a yellow belt, and then you say, we're going to be teaching Aikido starting next week. Really? Sign me up. See? He shells
Mm-hmm.
out the money. That's an amateur.
Yeah.
Now, below an amateur is a layman. That's your ordinary guy. Now, what do you do to a layman? You promote. You say, we make the best bagels in town. Come and buy our bagels. Or whatever it is you're selling. I'm a great masseuse. You should come in and get a massage from me. See, you're promoting. But this guy, he's just a regular guy. I said, okay, I'll come in for a massage, see how it is, So you got to promote to the layman.
Mm.
Now you see how important this is? You spot the person. If the guy is a layman, you promote to him. If the guy is an amateur, you sell him something. That's a
Yeah.
different thing. If he's a professional, you hire him. If he's an expert, you put him in charge of the professionals. You see? And if
Yeah.
he's a virtuoso, you market him. So, like Eddie Van Halen, right? All he needed was he had his brother who played drums. He got your average bass player. He got a front man who looked pretty good. Voila, history. See?
Yeah.
He wrote all the songs. He played a stunning guitar. The other guys didn't do too much. There was nothing spectacular about David Lee Roth's vocals, Michael Anthony played bum 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 bum, not bother the guitarist. All right, the drummer kept, and Eddie Van Halen was a star. Even people who didn't realize that. That's how it worked.
Yeah.
Well, he's a virtuoso. It's just like what I just described is similar to what happened with Jimi Hendrix. Similar process where you have this guy, he's wow, and you just put together whatever you need with him.
Yeah.
This could happen in the military. You get some guy in the military who's like a combat engineer. This guy can blow up anything. Okay? And so you have a unit behind him to protect him, logistics, to see that he gets where he has to go, and you send him in there and he blows up the dam.
Mm.
Okay? He's a virtuoso. He doesn't let the other guys mess with the C4.
Yeah.
Okay? You guys just make sure nobody attacks us, kill anybody who comes around, let me do my job. See? So that's the virtuoso. So now, what's below a layman? Below a layman is an ignoramus. An ignoramus is somebody who doesn't know that he doesn't know.
Mm.
So you have a sign in front of your dojo that says jujitsu, right? This guy walks down the street. He has no idea what jujitsu is. He looks at it and says, that looks like a foreign language to me. He comes in and says, what do you guys do here? What do you do? Sell Japanese art?
Mm.
So the owner, suppressing a laugh, says, no, we teach jujitsu. What's that? See, this guy doesn't even know that he doesn't know. And he explains, well, this is an ancient martial art that millions of people have learned. Oh, really? Can I learn that? Well, if you're interested in martial arts, yes. You see? So what are you doing? You're interacting with a guy. You're not promoting to him. If you promote to him, number one, it's a waste of time. Number two, he's going to be irritated because he doesn't know what you do.
Yeah.
You see? You have to have somebody who knows what you do. That's a layman. A layman says, oh, yeah, I heard of jiu-jitsu. Now, so you try to sell him something. You don't try to sell anything to the ignoramus. You just communicate with him. You give him your business card. That's a communication. You give him your website. That's a communication. You say, if you need any more information, here's my cell phone number. Call me up. See? You're interacting with him.
Yeah.
So you see, this is how the 7 levels of human ability dovetail with the scale of management. And this tells you how to handle personnel in an organization, which is a sore point for most people. And I'll give you a perfect example. I was once trying to fill a position, and I had this guy contact me because I had an ad out. So I spoke to this guy and at length and saw his resume and all that. This guy was overqualified for this job, overqualified. And I could see that. And I said to him, you're so qualified. Why would you want this job?
Mm.
He didn't even answer my question. Okay? So he just went away. But you see, I could see he was overqualified for this job. And this was not going to go well. Because this guy was an expert.
Mm.
I was looking for a professional. You see?
Yeah.
If you try to make an expert simply produce, you're going to have a lot of trouble.
Mhm.
He's going to be in your office every other day saying, there's a better way to do this. There's a better way to do this.
Yeah. I've worked with those.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if he's actually an expert, he's right. He knows what he's talking about. That's just not somebody with a big mouth. Right. Do we know about those people who all have opinions? And, just go back to making the shoes, okay?
Yeah.
We have a manager who'll tell us how to do it. So that's how this scale works. Any questions?
No.
This
Yeah.
is really, really important because it doesn't matter what you're managing. Everybody's managing something. Even if you, let's say you work for Chase Bank, right? You go in there and you stand behind the window, you take money and you get your check, right? You're not managing that. But you come home, you have a family, you have a house, you have a wife, you have this whole organization
Yeah.
that has to be managed. You have to make sure the clothes get washed. You have to make sure the refrigerator doesn't get empty. You have to make sure you pay attention to your wife. Your wife says, I really want to go to a movie. You better do it. So,
Mm,
see, you have to manage this. So, when you get married to somebody, you are establishing an organization called Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
yep.
So then you have to interact, right? So you send out notices, see, to people. Uh, this is our phone number. This is our address. Okay, we have a website together. You can promote to them. You can say, "Come over to our house for dinner." See, that's promoting.
Yeah.
See, then finance. Well, how does finance? Well, there's going to be some kind of finance. Like when people come over for dinner, they bring a bottle of wine. That's an inflow. You see?
Yeah.
So then you get into production. Well, what is the production? Well, that happens in the bedroom, and then you're making kids. You're
Right.
manufacturing kids, right? And that
Yeah.
takes 25 years per kid, right? Now, as this is going along, you have to refine it. You have to, your wife says to you, "Nye, nye, 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 nye." Some things are not right. You got to figure out what it is and fix it.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Refine. You got to refine something.
That's right. You got to refine. Okay, you don't like that I read the newspaper at the table. Okay, I won't do that anymore. See, that's a correction. You
Mm,
refined it. No more newspaper at the dinner table. You want to read your paper, you read it before or after. See?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then marketing is like you're telling everybody, we're here, we're a family, we're the Smiths, you see?
Mm-hmm.
And exporting, well, when you send your kid to school, you're exporting from this organization because you created this kid. So you
Yeah.
see, doesn't matter what it is, you need these 7 levels. Even if you're running a hot dog stand by yourself, you have to establish it. Then you have to have some way to interact with people. Then you have to promote. Then you have to have some finance. People come in, they give you, then you have to produce. Here's your hot dog. Then you have to refine. I've figured out that people, they really don't like the buns unless I toast them.
Yeah.
So I'm going to toast them. See? Then the people come back because they like it better. See, you're refining it. And then you're marketing it. You're giving out flyers. You're going out there and exporting hot dogs into the community every time you sell one. You see? It's the
Yeah.
same 7 things. It doesn't matter if you run Amazon or a hot dog stand, it's the same 7 levels.
Mm,
And you have the same thing with as soon as you're bringing people into it, you need to know what their ability level is to know
yeah.
where to put them.
Huh. Wow.
There
Yeah.
was a
I
song
think.
many years ago called, that used to go, if you want to be happy for the rest of your life, never make a pretty woman your wife. And from a personal point of view, get an ugly girl to marry you. That was the chorus. And this whole song was about how if you want to have a happy marriage, don't marry some beauty queen because that's going to be hard to manage. Because every guy that comes by is going to try to get a date with her.
Yeah.
And if you're in a bad mood on Thursday and it gets you irritated, on Friday she makes a date with some guy. See? So perfect example of getting the right person to fit in the organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, if you look like Brad Pitt, then you can marry a beauty queen. But that leaves most of us out, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, there has to be some way to manage everything that you do. And this tells you how.
Yeah, it does. And with the scale of human ability that it associates with, yes, I
Yes.
definitely see it. Yeah, cool. So do we have time for chapter 7,
I
the
think so.
scale of exchange, which
Okay.
can also be called the scale of economics.
Yes.
So there we go.
Okay. So, conspicuous by its absence from the innumerable discussions about economics is exchange. It's really about exchange. Now, economists, they study statistics and they get into all these graphs and curves and very complicated things. Harry Truman famously said he wanted a one-handed economist because he would ask for advice and they'd say, well, on the one hand, you have this, and on the other hand, you have that. And he said, well, let me have a one-handed economist so I know what to do. So this undercuts the whole subject of economics. And I'll show you how. First of all, this is a spiral scale. There is an apparent congruence between level 1 and level 7. And again, that is a catastrophic error. If you mistake 1 and 7, you're mistaking the best for the worst.
Mm.
So this goes both ways. You have a bad situation in level 7, and you think it's level 1. Oh boy, say goodbye to your money if that happens.
Yeah.
Okay? So this is a gradual scale, meaning you move through an infinitude of gradients from level to level. This does not jump, as is the case in a quantum scale. And this is a general scale. So when you look at a particular situation or business or context, you find this and you're done. So this is, now you could say, well, this is going to be different for UK than it is for United States. Yes, but once you find the level for that country, you're done. And that's what a general scale is about.
Yeah.
Now, in a specific scale, it's more about context. So this is not as purely general as some other scales are, but it's more general than specific in terms of the way you use it. You come into a situation, you analyze it, and you're done. Now, what are we measuring here? Again, this is something that never gets discussed. I am an investor, and so I listen to experts every day. They send me emails. I watch their shows and podcasts because I want to know what's going on, where I should put my money, when I should get in, when I should get out, like everybody else
Yeah.
who's an investor. But they never talk about the underlying factor here. Look at the vertical dotted line. This is about trust. Exchange is about trust. Now, above level 1, you have complete trust. Complete trust is unattainable because humans can never be completely trustworthy, maybe 99.999%. And below level 7 is no trust. You really can't get into a situation where you have no trust, but you can have very little trust. Very, very little trust. And these 7 levels correspond to how much trust is appropriate. So, what is a confidence man? A confidence man is somebody who tries to get you to trust him. The government does this 7 days a week. They say, we're going to tax you and we're going to spend your money for you. And you're going to be happy about it. Nobody's happy about it. Okay? They con us.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the names that they give to their bills, you can see that they're phonies. They're
Yeah.
as phony as a $3 bill. Okay? So The opposite of this is Davy Crockett. Davy Crockett was a representative from Tennessee. And somebody once went to him and said, well, can you get us some money for X, Y, and Z? And he said to the guy, this is a constituent, it's not mine to give. That's the right answer. It's not my money. This is the money that the people have given to government for us to run the government. I can't give you this and that, like pay your student loan. That's not ethical or appropriate. So they're running a con on you. Corporations do it, governments do it, churches do it. They're always, because these organizations take on a life of their own. And once that happens, they can't be trusted.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be some guy who comes in there who's a crook. He says, I got a great way to make some money. Well, that's what professional criminals do.
Yeah.
When they work their way, like Bernie Madoff. Now, there's all kinds of laws about investment, right? And he broke them. And he conned people out of billions of dollars, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. Well, eventually they caught him and he went to prison. Or like the famous guy, who, I forget his name, he actually literally sold the Brooklyn Bridge to many people.
Oh, I think I heard about that one.
Have you ever heard that? People
I've
say
heard
I have a
about
bridge for sale. There actually was a guy.
Yeah.
Yes, I own this bridge, and it would sell the Brooklyn. So can that guy be trusted? So let's say you have a person on the stand who's a known liar, a convicted perjurer. You're going to trust his testimony?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So there's a whole concept in law that says once the guy lies to the jury, he's done. We don't care what else he says. Get this guy out of here. See? Maybe he's telling the truth about Y, but he already lied to you about X, so you just don't want to hear. Okay, so that's all about trust. So exchange is about trust. The level of exchange, it corresponds to how much trust is prevalent.
Yeah.
So for example, if you have a trustworthy person and he comes to you, you know this guy for a long time, and he says, look, can you loan me $50 until Thursday? You say, okay, here's 50. Thursday he comes in and gives you back. That's a trustworthy guy. He has your trust. But if you have some guy who you don't really know, and he says, well, give me the money today, and then I'll deliver the product tomorrow, and he disappears.
Yeah, I never see him again.
Right. So you trusted somebody who did not deserve your trust. See, that's confusing level 7 and level 1. Person at level 1 is honorable. Person at level 7 is not.
Those are the people you just hope you never have to see again.
So either that or you're ready for them when you see them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, let's go through this from the bottom, because this is how societies develop. The lowest level of exchange is taking. Now, most people are going to say, how is taking exchange? Right? You're walking down the street, guy pulls a gun on you, says, give me your wallet. You give me your wristwatch. You give him the watch, the wallet, he goes away, right? That's taking, right? That's force. Or we talked about a con man. Con man deceives you, okay? He takes your money by deceit. Now, people say, how is that an exchange? I'll tell you how it was an exchange. Mafia comes to you and says, Give us $100 a week and we will protect you. The store owner says, protect me from what? I don't need any protection. I'm in business here. I'm making money. And they said, well, you see, somebody might throw a bomb through your glass window and blow up your store. And if you give us the $100 a week, we'll make sure that that does not happen.
Yeah.
Right? So the guy says, dum, dum, dum. Here's the $100. Right? Happens all the time. The government does the exact same thing. They say, April 15th, you owe us 50% of your money. Okay? And if you don't pay it to us,
Put you in jail.
right? There are guys with badges and guns and handcuffs that come, take you away, and put you in federal prison, which is exactly how they got Al Capone. Couldn't get him on anything else, but they got him on income tax evasion.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they put him away. So, taking is, as I point out in the book, taking is by far the most prevalent form of exchange on earth. All right? Criminals, guy comes, he steals your car. He's taking your car. Now, suppose you try to stop that guy, right? You know how these guys steal cars? You're stopped at a light, right? You're in the car, the key's there, comes, pulls out a gun, says, get out of the car. This is how it frequently happens. It's happening all over,
Yeah.
not just in the United States. So you get out, he gets in your car and drives away. So you get to stay alive. That's the exchange.
Yeah.
Right? Or with the government. You pay them 50% of your net income, and in exchange, you get to stay out of prison. That's the exchange. Or some big bully,
Mm-hmm.
right? He sees a little kid, and the little kid has an action figure, right? He says, give me that action figure, or I'll knock your teeth in. Takes the action figure, brings it home, right? So the little kid gets to keep his teeth.
Yeah.
That's the exchange.
That's it.
You see? That's how it works. That's what blackmail is. Guy comes and says, look, we have photographs of you with young men in bed. So you give us $10,000 and these photographs go away. See? They're taking your money. That's extortion. It's illegal. But you give them the money. They take your money and then you get to keep your wife because she doesn't find out what you've been doing on the side.
Yeah.
You see? That's the exchange. So that's the way you have to think about it. It's an exchange. Up from that is barter. Barter is what you get in primitive societies. I give you 6 eggs and you give me 6 apples. Right? You have one guy's got an apple orchard. He's got more apples than he can possibly eat. And so he trades these apples to people. I'll give you a bushel of apples for a bushel of oats. This guy grows oats. Oh, yeah, I'll take the oats. I'll feed them to my horse. And then you have the apples. That's barter. That's object for object. Now, the advantage of that is not a lot of trust is involved, right? You see the eggs, he sees the apples, it's done. You don't have to trust anybody.
Yeah. Product speaks for itself.
That's right. Above that is a substitute. A substitute is a convenient medium. So, for example, in Japan, bushels of rice, they had so much rice, it became a convenient medium. So a guy would say, I'll give you 10 bushels of rice for that horse. Guy says, no, I want 12. Okay, here's 12. See, that's how they did it. That was a medium of exchange for them. Now, on the American frontier, the English came to America. The forests were teeming with game, especially big game like deer, right? So when you would kill a deer, and it was not that hard to do if you were a good hunter, you could feed your whole family
Yeah.
for a week or more. So they would remove the skin from the deer. See, this was a cottage industry. They would remove, and then they would make clothes out of it. It's called buckskin. So you would see the pioneers clothes made out of buckskin. They knew how to tan the hides, and they knew how to make them into clothes. And the Native Americans did the same thing. So, because of this flow that I just explained, there were lots of buckskins around. So every time the guy goes out and shoots a deer, venison for the whole family and all the workers on the farm, they have this skin, big skin, right? So it's tanning. They're tanning it now, right? So now the guy has a collection of these. He has 10 of these. So he needs something. He goes to his farmer and says, you know, I really would like to get some of your carrots. I'll make you a deal. I'll give you a buckskin for a bushel of carrots. The guy says, okay, I'm ready for a buckskin coat. See, they make a trade. That's a convenient medium. This was so prevalent that to this day in the United States, the vernacular for a dollar is a buck. That's where that came from.
Yeah. Wow.
So these people didn't even have money, right? They had the axe, they had the bullets, they had the gun. They made their clothes out of and they had these buckskins and they traded them. It became a medium of exchange.
Hmm.
So the wife would go over to the neighbor, to talk to her girlfriend and say, oh, I noticed you have a nice buckskin. Could you trade it to me so I can make some clothes for my husband? Okay, well, what have you got? Well, I give you a bushel of walnuts. Okay, we'll take it. That's how it went. Okay, so it's a convenient medium. Again, this is not object for object. It's something where one guy takes the buckskin and then he could trade that buckskin to somebody else.
Yeah.
That buckskin might go through 3 or 4 different places before anybody does anything with it. It finally winds up with the farrier who wants to make an apron out of it. You see, after 4 or 5 trades. Okay, now above that we have coinage. A coinage is a standard valuable. So, gold, silver, that's where that came from. So gold is valuable. So, okay, in order to make this standardized, we're going to cut it into little discs. So we have units of gold, right? So Judas betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. Those weren't random pieces of silver. They were coins. Okay? It was coinage.
Yeah.
Now, you can't eat the silver or the gold. You can't wear it. You can only trade it for something else.
Yeah. Exchanging.
Right? So you've got this gold, and you give one to the haberdasher for a jacket. You give another one to the stable owner for taking care of your horses, etc., etc. But this has an inherent value. It's a coinage.
Mm-hmm.
It's a standard valuable. There's no ambiguity about this. It's what it is. You're trading the gold or the silver for the thing. Now, most people don't know there was a time when aluminum was so rare
Oh.
before we figured out how to turn it into a metal that it was a precious metal.
Mm-hmm.
And people would trade aluminum. So beyond that, we get into cash. Cash is an abstraction. Somebody says, well, you know what? Instead of carrying around 50 pieces of gold is heavy.
Yeah.
make a piece of paper and we'll say this piece of paper is worth 50 pieces of gold.
A note.
Right. Now, eventually, this sort of led into making coins that themselves were not terribly valuable. So, in other words, the idea of a wooden nickel. Did you ever hear that? A wooden nickel.
Yeah.
Don't take any
Yeah.
wooden nickels. So you can sort of make coins that are. It doesn't have to be paper. It could be a coin. But when you get to cash, it's an abstraction.
Mm.
It's not a thing that is of some inherent value. It's just trust. Now, you see, as you go higher on the scale, there has to be more trust. By the time you get to cash, you have to trust people.
Mm-hmm.
So, there was the statement in George Washington's time, not worth a continental.
Mm.
When they wanted to say something was worthless, they said it's not worth a continental, meaning the Continental Congress printed money. It became totally worthless. And so anybody who was stuck with it was screwed. How about Confederate money?
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
All the people who had Confederate money. It was worthless. There was no Confederacy. It was gone. So in order to have cash, you have to have trust. So let me ask you, do you trust the people who run the government?
Mm-mm.
Bingo, right answer. So beyond that, you get to credit. Credit is one's record. It's not even an abstraction. Like the Federal Reserve, it's not federal, and there is no reserve.
I know. Yeah.
Or you
Yeah.
go to the bank, it's all about numbers. So make some money on stocks, and you transfer that into your bank account. It's just that in your stock account, the numbers go down. In your bank account, the numbers go up. It's just your record. It's all credit. So once you get past a standard valuable like gold or silver or platinum,
Mm.
it's all about trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you see what's happening with inflation running wild. I have been waiting for that for years because I was watching them. We're going to have big inflation. Okay, so finally we got it. I wasn't surprised at all.
Me neither.
So now we got it. How are we going to get rid of it now? You see, the Fed is flailing, trying to fix this. Lots of luck. The horse is already out of the barn.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So then on the top of that, the most trust you can have is one's word. Honor.
The handshake.
That's right. And I'll tell you something. In the mafia, not so much recently, but in the old mafia, in the days of Carlo Gambino,
Mm-hmm.
everything was on a handshake. And most people don't know this, but the people of the mafia were referred to as men of honor.
Yeah.
Originally, the mafia was instituted to protect the populace from the greedy landowners because they had a feudal society in Sicily. And the people who owned everything, the 1%, would get away with everything.
Mm.
So a couple of guys got together and said, you know what? This guy raped this guy's daughter. We're going to kill him. See? And that put fear into these people, into the rich people. See? Maybe we can't do things with impunity anymore. That's how the mafia started.
Mm.
And then later some guys came in and said, we have this secret thing. We could make money from this. See? And then it became crooked.
Yeah.
Just like the American government. The American government started out honest. In the days of Washington, Hamilton, Jefferson, it was honest. Now it's a den of thieves.
Mm-hmm. A swamp of rats.
Right, right. There's no honor. And so what happens is that's why somebody goes to Washington and says, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And the CIA comes around and says, we have photographs of your wife with these guys. And if you don't want them to be released, you're going to vote our way.
Mm.
He suddenly changes his mind. See? Now, if he was a man of honor, he would have said, release all the photos you want.
Yeah.
But the CIA also makes people disappear. In case you
Yeah.
didn't know.
Yeah. You never see them again.
Same thing as the mafia. There's no difference. The CIA has been in cahoots with the mafia since 1940,
Mm-hmm.
when they made a deal with them to watch the docks to prevent sabotage. And the deal was, we'll leave you alone to do your business, and you make sure there's no sabotage or theft or anything, because they were concerned
Yeah.
about the Nazis.
Yeah. They'd
And
have
they
all
made
kinds
it
of informants too. Yeah. CIA and FBI. I mean,
right,
look at Hoover. Hoover had so many informants back in
right.
the
And he was as crooked as they came.
day. Yeah. Yeah.
So, so that's why you see, you now have the government is run by criminals. They cannot be trusted, which is why now you're seeing millions of blacks, Latinos, Asians, young people, and women going Republican. They
Mm.
said, we've had enough of this. They see what's going on with Biden, the Biden crime family. See, it's all in the public domain. All the evidence is there.
Yeah.
If you pay attention to it, you see it. Anybody can see all the redundant evidence of criminality.
Mm.
Say these guys are crooks. So it's obvious from seeing what they do, the choices they make, they're not honorable people.
No.
They can't be trusted.
Not by a long shot, the honorable.
So that's how this scale works.
Let me go back. Oh, there we go. Ah, yeah. Yeah, that scale, it definitely makes sense. Seeing it, take moving up to, and I like how it starts from taking. I mean, yeah, that's such a basic value of exchange that you don't realize it. You got to change your whole way of thinking. You go, okay, you got to look at this differently. Yeah. I mean, someone robs you, that is an exchange. They're not going to shoot you. I'll let you live if you give me your wallet.
Right. But
It
I'll
is
tell
an
you a
exchange.
story. A friend of mine who was the head of an organization, very tough, smart guy. He's walking in through New York one day where his business was, and some guy came up to him, pulled a gun on him, and said, give me your wallet. And honest to God, my friend said to him, well, you can go ahead and shoot me if you want, but I'm not giving you anything. And the guy ran away.
Wow.
That's an honorable person.
Yeah. Yeah. It wouldn't get much from me. I mean, I don't carry any cash in my wallet.
Right.
Oh, you go ahead, take my wallet. You ain't getting
Right.
shit.
A lot of people don't even have a wallet now.
Yeah, right.
All they have is a couple of pieces of plastic.
Pretty soon they're gonna ask, "Give me your phone,"
Yeah.
because there's so much stuff on these things. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. If they can hack these, all of your stuff is on here.
That's right.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's important that in terms of exchange, when you exchange, think about it. How trustworthy is this person?
Hmm.
Are you going to give this person your PIN? Are you going to trust this person to take care of things? The reason why the mafia is familial is
Hmm.
because it's all on a handshake. You have to be able to trust the guy.
Yeah.
And if they find somebody, again, it's changed. It's not the same mafia as it used to be. But in the days of Carlo Gambino, if a guy turned out not to be honorable,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're gone.
so that's why you have this guy. He collects the numbers money, right? They get like $50,000 a day in numbers. He shows up with a satchel with all the money, right?
Yeah.
If he skims off that and they find out about it, he's dead.
Yeah.
Okay? Because that's confusing level 1 and level 7. You have to be honorable.
Mm-hmm.
That is
And
why
part,
I have often
yeah.
said, I'll take the mafia over the feds anytime.
Yeah.
Because I've known a lot of people in both organizations.
Same
You
here.
know, I
Same here.
my father was heavily connected with the New York City Police Department.
Mm.
So he used to go to the policeman's ball every year. They come around, hey, sign up. Okay, here. Because he was so heavily connected with the cops. What could be better than that? Right?
Yeah.
He had all these friends who were lieutenants and captains and sergeants. In fact, he knew the attorney general.
Mm.
So my mother and my father are in their exquisite clothes, going up to the ball in the elevator in the Waldorf Astoria or wherever it was. And somebody said, I think it was my mother who said, "Boy, uh, there must be a lot of crime tonight because all the cops are here." And a detective lieutenant said, "There's not going to be any crime tonight. The criminals are here.
Mm.
They're all here."
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Wow. At least he was honest.
This was in the days before, uh, what was his name? Frank, I'm forgetting his name. There was a famous detective who they actually tried to kill, uh, who testified
Yeah.
about all of the corruption. And that really changed everything.
Mm.
But before that, it was wall to wall corruption. All the cops were on the take, the sergeants, the lieutenants, the captains, all the way up to the mayor. Everybody was
Yeah.
on the take.
Wow.
And it was like, and really, it was explained perfectly by Al Capone when he said, "I'm a businessman. If they want women, we give them women. If they want alcohol, we give them alcohol." It's during Prohibition. If they want
Mhm.
gambling, we give them gambling. See, I'm a businessman. That's what he said in
Yeah.
public.
Yeah.
So he was just doing, people want these things, and so we provide this service.
And
That
and
was,
and two, bartering. I mean, bartering still happens today. I mean,
oh,
I've
sure,
I've I've bartered quite a bit. I'm sure you have.
sure.
Like for a like, hey, I want this, or not necessarily like, but like in value that you would personally have on something or
Right.
would need.
I have bartered services with many people.
Hmm.
I'd have somebody come to work with me, and I would give him services in exchange for him working for me.
Yeah.
Uh, so no money exchanged hands, nothing the government can do about that.
Yeah. We might actually go back to that. I mean, if it gets as bad as it is, that people will be like, hey, all right, you got I mean, look at the crafts, electricians, plumbers, anything out there. You need something. I'm an electrician. Oh, you're a plumber? Well, I tell you what, I'll do your electrical if you do my
That's right.
plumbing.
That's right.
You know? So,
Yeah, goes on,
yeah.
goes on all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, it was fun.
Same here, man. Likewise. Likewise. It was a good day.
I'll
Yes.
see you next Saturday.
I will see you. I will see you next Saturday. Anything changes, I will
Now,
let you know.
by the way, did you get my email that said I will not be around on the 8th of June?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
And I also mentioned that I would recommend doing one final one on the axioms.
The axiom, yes. And what's interesting, as soon as I read that, because I've heard of axiom, And then as soon as I read that email, something came on the television. What was I watched it was a video on, I think, Terrence Howard. Yeah, I think Terrence Howard was delivering something to Joe Rogan, and he mentioned, and this was just moments after I read that email. He said axiom. I'm like, whoa, and then it clicked. I'm like,
Oh,
yes,
right.
yes,
So if you want to see them, they're on my website.
okay,
They're
all right.
free for anybody to look at.
And everybody, go check out the website. Go get your book. Here's the book right here. Go get the book so you can follow along, and watch all these if you need some, a tour. But go to the website at septemics.com. So, but until next week, thank you everybody for watching Conscious Radio Networks and Instruction in Septemics. Until next time, y'all have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Y'all take care. Thank you, Jim. You have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day.